We'll go ahead and call the Monday, May 24, 2010 Public Safety Committee to order, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of last month.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed,
And
motion.
special.
In the special meeting?
Special.
Is that in the
Second.
motion?
Yeah, first.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
That's right there.
All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. First on the agenda tonight is going to be, well, first of all, we got, if it's okay with the committee, I'll make a little bit of change in the agenda here. First on the agenda is going to be the report from the bicycle committee, and then after that, I'd like to, we got a visitor CAD Corps. I forgot to put him on the agenda. Commissioner Sparks had contacted Mr. Watson, and then he had called me today, and I think it's today or yesterday or something. Last week. It was one day.
Time flies.
It does. And I'll let that be second. So the committee, bicycle committee will come on up. And I think they've had, Mr. DeMasi had done some handouts. All right.
Thank you so much for having us back. As you can see, we've been pretty busy working. We've come up with a bicycle, Rutherford County bicycle ride information sheet that I think Mr. DeMasi gave you all a copy of. We have kind of tailored this based on the parade permit that the City of Murfreesboro requires whenever there's an event happening on their street. And I believe Mr. DeMasi sent it through the attorney's office.
Yes.
And as this stands, if this is a recommended form, the attorney is good with it. If we decide it's going to be a required form, there may need to be some tweaking that we need to do to it. But as you can see at the top, it talks about this form needs to be completed if there's going to be at least 30 people participating in a bike event, and the form itself is pretty self-explanatory. It just asks for information about the event, the route itself, and a number of riders anticipated and a responsible person to be in contact with. Once it's completed, the county will forward the information to the county sheriff's office dispatch, who will then disseminate it out to all the emergency folks that need to know. It also has information for whoever's filling out the form to make sure that if they're going into the city limits, that they need to contact city officials as well to make sure that everyone who needs to know knows about the event. The main purpose of this form is really just communication, so that everybody that needs to know that a group of cyclists is coming through the area knows about it. And when the person that completes this form fills it out, downloads it from the website, they will also get this bicycle tips sheet, which we need to do a little bit of work on. And our expectation will be that the bicycle safety tip sheet will be shared with all the participants in the event, and it addresses information for drivers and bicyclists. And I think I shared this form with you guys the first time I sat down and met with you. But we're going to pretty it up and make it a nice form to be shared with cyclists. And this will be one of our efforts at education and getting the information out about what the rules of the road are for motorists and bicyclists. So this was step one, job one of what you guys charged us to do, and we're ready for your blessing or send us back to the drawing board.
I think it looks like a good start to get the awareness level up as far as the drivers and the bicyclists, and also to let emergency services know where these events are going to be at, where they can prepare in case something wants to happen or make different routes or whatever. Is there any questions from the committee? Comments?
Has Mr. Williams signified his agreement with it?
Absolutely. I thought he was going to be here today
So did
and
I.
present
That's
it
why.
with us. So yeah, he was he's good with it, and he actually said for us to go ahead and bring it to you guys to get your blessings and decide to move forward with it.
Anybody else? All right. I guess what we need is have a motion to approve this. I guess it's going to be a recommending, not.
Yeah, well, our recommendation that talking about it at committee was that we don't
mandate it, but we put it out there, make sure people are aware of it,
Right.
just ask people to fill it out, really just so, as Sarah mentioned, that this is more for information.
Right.
So emergency services know where it is, but not a requirement at this point.
Okay.
And I'm also going to take responsibility to make sure that area clubs and area events know about the form and know that they need to fill this out if their event's going to come through Rutherford County. So I will take responsibility from the bike club perspective to make sure people that need to know about this.
Also, I'd like to thank everybody that's been on the committee, because I know you put in a lot of long hours and hard work and stuff, and I know it's taken away from other parts of your job, day jobs, and things like that, and I want to let y'all know I appreciate the work y'all did on it. So.
Thank you. And I also want to report on some other exciting things we've done. We, as a result of Terry and Jimmy being on the Bike Safety Committee, we got together and worked with them during the EMS day on Saturday up at Stonecrest and put on a bike safety rodeo, which was a lot of fun. We had about 6 or 8 kids come through. We gave away 6 helmets and taught them the rules of the road and made sure they understood that they were supposed to wear their helmets. And we're kind of working on brainstorming some ideas of how to put together a whole event that we can take to after school programs and PE teachers and things along that line, so we can start with kids and work our way up. But we'd also like to offer it to on the adult level as well. So some good things are coming out of the committee, and
That's good.
we would really like to keep working at ways that we can create educational programs for Rutherford County. And another kudos to the committee, to you guys. I don't know if you saw it in the paper recently, but Tennessee moved up in the bicycle-friendly ratings to about 19 points. And one of the things that was quoted is the work that we're doing in Rutherford County and other counties in their effort to make bicycling more safe in the community. So that was a great thing to be recognized in that.
That's good.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
just like when the legal department gets, their approval on it, on the information sheet. Well, for one thing, I'd like to see it sometime phased into sometime in the future to be mandated, just for the simple reason I think it's a great thing. But the other thing, and I'm remiss because I guess I haven't watched Channel 19 long enough to see if there's, but I'd like to, the awareness to, if y'all could put it on Channel 19
do
about
that.
what's happening. And also, there's Murfreesboro, Laverne, and Smyrna all have Channel 3s that
Yes.
this would be very good to be on too, just to get it out to the public.
Well, Channel 3 Smyrna was at the EMS day, and they filmed it for their channel, part of the bike rodeo, so they will be aware of it too.
Yeah. Just notices though, they've often put them on, put our
Well, we
hand
have-
breakfast and everything, they can put that on about
Right.
riding a bicycle.
Well, we actually have plans. We're going to start working with the Channel 19 staff to put together PSAs that are focused on commuter cyclists, recreational cyclists, neighborhood cyclists. We're looking at we're talking about like 3 or 4 different PSAs. We had some MTSU students show up at our meeting last Monday, and they volunteered to work with the Mass Comm department at MTSU and get some volunteer work to put together some PSAs to show on Channel 19 as well as Channel 3. So we're moving in that direction. We just haven't started building it yet. But we want to use local people and make it be a Murfreesboro, Rutherford County thing, using people within the bike club and EMS.
Yeah, especially with bringing in the ambulance service bike team and then the sheriff's department bike team and encompassing them in the PSAs
Wow.
too would be a really good thing.
That's true. Get a lot of awareness out there.
We're working on it.
That's good.
Excited.
All right. Anybody else? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve the informational sheet for them to go ahead and go further. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. I think 2 or 3 seconds.
That's pretty good.
They go fast.
All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right. CAD Corps, Watson, and anyone else? I think you've got something here in front of you that, I think, come on up. Appreciate y'all coming tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate the invitation.
Go ahead and, I guess, y'all want to tell us a little bit about what CADCOR is and what y'all do? and-
This is Karen Claw, the program coordinator. So,
We appreciate you giving us the opportunity to share a little bit about what CADCOR is. We are a community anti-drug coalition for Rutherford County, and we are community-based. So everything that we do is in an effort to bring awareness to the community about underage drinking and substance abuse. And so with that, we want to partner with all aspects of the community. That includes law enforcement, schools, parents, community agencies, social services, however that we can work collaboratively to bring that message to the community in order to have results of reducing underage drinking and substance abuse. Thus far, we've worked real closely with law enforcement officers to conduct compliance checks, to support them going in with an underage informant to check and make sure that retail establishments are carding, and if they don't card, then the sanctions that are put forth before them. We're currently working with all the beer boards, county, Smyrna, Laverne, city, to talk to them about how they handle fines and penalties, and to really bring some awareness around those issues, as well as providing training to employees of merchants to ensure that they know how to properly check for IDs and are doing that and enforcing that issue in the community. We also work with the schools, the SRO officers in the schools to provide education components and work with the kids in the school system.
a little history about CADCOR. We were CADCOM at one time, and about 2 years ago now, I was hired on to grow the coalition in the north end of the county, which is Smyrna, Laverne, and I do work in Eagleville some. So that's a little history. CADCOM had been around for many years through the Murfreesboro Housing Authority. So it's all about awareness and educating the public that it's not acceptable for underage alcohol consumption. And that's what we're all about. And we do partner with a lot of people in this room. EMS, Mary, you can look at our brochure and see the people in the community that are on our board. So.
We are strictly funded through grants. We receive several state grants, and we also receive a federal grant, which is Drug-Free Communities. The chart that you have in your packet, we're getting ready to partner with the state for a binge drinking grant. And so that just kind of gives you an idea of what we're going to be working towards. And as you can see, that data on that sheet is local data related to DUI arrest, drunk driving, fatalities, and what we're hoping through our efforts with enforcement, with awareness, that we can reduce some of that consequential data. So we're hoping that through our efforts, you aren't going to have the EMS response time related to underage drinking issues. You aren't going to have local law enforcement time, and that will give them time to, do other things, hopefully. And so that just to give you an overview of what we're doing and some of the data that we've collected in the community to support those efforts.
We as a public safety committee and we as Rutherford County, what are things that we could do to help you all get that message out?
One is by us being here. We have worked closely with Channel 19. We did a town hall meeting and they videotaped it, and they are showing it on the cable access. Continue supporting, the law enforcement efforts, SROs. We would love to have any county commissioners, parents come to our coalition meetings. They're the third Wednesday of every month over at Murfreesboro Housing Authority.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. So those are open meetings.
Okay.
We're all about educating the public
Right.
to underage alcohol consumption. It is a problem.
Right.
And as a public safety committee, you know about it. As Karen stated, we do partner with the Sheriff's Department, SROs, They're great role models in the schools. That's one of the things Rutherford County's been on the forefront of, SROs. It's a great partnership there. Those kids have a role model to look up to.
We also look at community policies and ordinances, so if there's an opportunity to strengthen community ordinances, either related to parking in the streets, you know, if we know that there's a lot of youth that are participating in home parties and there's no ordinances that are keeping kids from parking in the streets, so you're going to have a bunch of kids parking out in the streets. And one of the ways that we can reduce that is to say, well, you know, that there's ordinances related to street parking, and so we can enforce that and help break up that. So there's some other avenues that we look at too in partnership with our community. So as those things come up or we're aware of them, then we would certainly be looking at soliciting some support among the community to help strengthen some of those ordinances and abilities to affect changes in that respect.
Those type of things like that is something that we could, you know, you could bring through our committee process, and we can look at doing some of those things from time to time. Anybody else?
Richard, we were talking earlier about the underage drinking and some of the markets. Can you elaborate on some of that, what's being done to kind of curb some of the underage drinking?
Do you mean access? How
As far as, I don't know, what do you call them, not the stings, but
Compliance checks.
compliance checks,
I've worked pretty closely with Smyrna and Laverne in the Sheriff's Department. Karen and I both have. CADCOR has. To speak about Laverne, which I had a hand in here lately, we helped fund that. We paid the overtime, and we helped buy the product, and you've got stores out there that are selling to 19, 18 underage alcohol, and you know, it's my philosophy. You've got vendors out there, and in this economic time, you have to worry about, well, you're putting screws to a businessman. Well, you've got vendors out there that are playing by the rules, but then you've got other vendors that are not. And that's not fair to the vendors that are doing it. Plus, it's breaking the law. And there's someone behind that vendor, when you take that beer license, that's willing to abide by the law and sell legally. And that's what we're after. That's all we're after in this community, sell legally.
Yeah. When y'all work with our beer board, county-wise, when they have those type of compliance situations, how are they handling that? Are they handling it pretty stiff? Or?
The last one I went to, I was very satisfied. There were some fines handed down, and there were some closures for 15 days. That gets their attention. And you know, I'm not asking to put anybody out of business. I'm just asking, do not sell to anyone under 21. That's all I'm asking, and that's all CADCOR, and that's all the community's asking. It's not just us; it's the community. It is a problem.
You're just asking to abide by the law.
Exactly. Exactly.
What are the consequences to someone that's underage that actually goes in and attempts to buy alcohol? Are they reported? If they're reported,
The vendor can call the Sheriff's Department or the Police Department.
What are the consequences to that individual? I mean, to me,
good question.
If you wanted to stop this kind of thing, if you had some kind of incentive to, hey, I've got 10 guys come in here, tried to buy that are underage, and some kind of incentive for reporting, that would probably help you. I'm just curious, what are the consequences to that individual that's underage trying to purchase?
The youth that purchases, if they're actually caught in possession of alcohol, then they are charged, and it goes before the judicial system. It would appear before Judge Scott, and I think it depends on that child's history with the courts as to what kind of punishment is meted out. I know with the clerks that are caught selling to an underage minor, they're issued a citation. They have to appear before court. If they've not had any previous infractions, they complete a diversion, which means they're assessed court costs and penalties, and then they are usually assigned community service hours up to 120 hours. And then they typically lose their job So that most retail establishments have a fire on the spot policy for clerks that fail compliance checks. And that's more evident in the chain type stores, your local mom and pop stores. If it's more families that are operating the business, they have a tendency not to fire family, but hopefully we'll provide some training and education.
And I can see where Commissioner P is coming from. I mean, also too, that underage person has got some dealings in this as well, just like the business has.
Well,
And
if
if
they turned around and called their parents, for instance,
Yeah.
I mean, I know there are still a lot of parents that would like their kids up.
Right.
Even though a lot of people don't, but
Yeah.
a lot of people do care.
Well, that's where we're out educating parents and kids. You know, there are consequences for doing this. And you need to watch out because there are consequences. Because they will have to deal with the legal system if caught. And I think, Karen, you touched on something. We offer tips training. And I think that's a big deal that we're coming into, and you can elaborate on that because Karen teaches it. We provide that training to vendors.
It's a 2-hour training, and the state has a voluntary program through the Alcohol Beverage Commission for retail establishments that sell off-premise, where they can have their employees trained in responsible vendor programs, and part of that is the TIPS off-premise program that we offer, and it teaches them about proper ID checking, educates them about the laws and penalties for failure to do so, helps them understand, fake IDs, what are proper IDs, and how to use their skills to non-defensively turn down a sale of alcohol to someone who's either underage or intoxicated. And so it's a 2-hour program that we've offered. And so far we've been able to cover that with grant funding, so we haven't charged the vendors to do that. So it hasn't, and if we do charge, it would be a very minimal out-of-pocket cost for them to participate in that program.
I see several of you looking at my brochure. You can see our board. We have a very active board here in the county. If you have any questions whatsoever about CADCOR, pick up the phone and call one of our board members.
Richard, you were telling me earlier that one of the, I won't say which chief of police, but that he got a little bit of negative flack
Right.
on doing some of the
Some of the
compliance.
comments were he needs to be out arresting criminals. Well, they are. If you sell beer or alcohol to a minor, you're breaking the law in this county, in this state. It is illegal. So the man was doing his job. And, you have to enforce underage alcohol consumption.
Yeah.
It's too accessible other ways. Let's hopefully stem the tide of retailer selling. And then we get parents thinking about, where are they getting it out of my refrigerator? Or neighbors, are they getting it from me? Where are they getting it from?
Well, we and I had a conversation earlier. I just, one reason, I appreciate y'all's efforts, your assertive efforts on this, but it was about a year ago this month that, I got a phone call, a little boy was in a car wreck, and my son's good friends and commissioners know about it. He got killed drinking. He bought alcohol somewhere. I had to make that phone call to that mother. He would have graduated last week. Unfortunately, he's not here, but I applaud that chief of police that's doing that. Appreciate y'all's efforts, because me personally, I think the problem is getting worse. I may not be up here in 5-6 months, but the next commissioners that are up here, I see one that may be a commissioner in the audience, and I want y'all to step up and really stay on top of this, because the priorities of this county shouldn't be. Well, this should be a priority. I'll just say that. There's other things that to me should be lesser on the scale. This should be up there, but I just commend y'all for your efforts.
And I think you had asked, what can you do? And I think as community members, as you're entering these retail establishments and as you're seeing the clerks check ID and doing the right thing, or if they're, being harassed by a customer for checking IDs, and you see that, and they stick to their guns and they don't make the sale, or they make sure that they're checking IDs, you know, those people need to be commended, and those retail establishments need to be thanked and recognized for their efforts.
Well, I think it's actually, I believe it's in the state law now that everybody until
50.
50.
Until 50 has to be checked.
It's at least 60.
Is it 60?
Well, I watch you all on Channel 19, and you had Judge Scott Davenport up here a few months ago, and you all were talking about kids coming in state's custody. I've sat on her foster care review board for 5 years. Over 90% of the kids coming into state's custody in this county, and I can tell you statewide, it's not just Rutherford County, are alcohol and drug related. Alcohol and drug related. We've got a problem as a society. And if we're going to sit back and just let it continue.
Well, what's going to happen with that type of situations is we're going to be incarcerating these kids, and then when they turn to be adults, it's going to cost us more money to incarcerate them.
Yes.
And if we spend a little money on the prevention side, we're going to spend less money on
Exactly.
the incarceration side. So.
And teen pregnancies and violence and
Right.
property damage and
Right.
a lot of trickle-down consequential effects.
Right. Well, I know I've seen, and some more people in here have seen some, like what Mike was talking about, these wrecks and stuff. It's when it comes to the drinking and driving, and it's it'll wake you up sometimes. So.
With this coalition, do y'all have a state board or thing that y'all communicate with that's
We
an
have a state
advocate as far as
organization.
on the state level and state
It's
level?
called CADCAT, C-A-D-C-A-T. Go to their website, Google them, CADCAT. You'll see we have some people in Rutherford County that are on their board. So,
Yeah, and I will have to say that Representative Joe Carr and Senator Jim Tracy were very instrumental in getting social host law passed for the state. They were our two local representatives that introduced those bills into the House, and that was signed into law last July. So even having our local state representatives on board with legislation efforts has been really good.
And what was the legislation for?
It's social host law, and so basically what it's saying is that if parents or adults on a property knowingly provide alcohol to underage youth or minors, they can be arrested and put in jail.
I think I just read the papers on the Assembly News where the parents
On the Post, it was in.
Was it on the post?
in a graduate party or something.
Okay.
Got arrested for doing that very
Right.
same thing.
and the argument is, well, it's my child. I'll do what I want to with my child. But I, as a parent, if my child was there, you better believe I'd be firing somebody up if they're providing alcohol
Right.
for my child. And I'm sitting at home saying, son, you do not need to do this till you're 21. And then if you do it, I hope you're responsible about it. And if somebody's providing him or her with that alcohol, then I, as a parent, I don't know about everybody else, but I, as a parent, would be very upset. That's negating my parental
Right.
authority.
But before that statute was enacted, there wasn't anything they could do about that.
Contributing to delinquency, and by the time it got to court, it was watered down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there were some civil penalties. Another parent could sue them if there was something that happened. But
And I
now
remember reading in the paper, I'm not sure it was in this county, where a mother invited all these kids in and then told them, to drink responsibly there, in quotes, I'm sure.
I've not read that. Is there mandatory provisions in that? Because I would assume it's the same Class A misdemeanor
It's a
as
Class A misdemeanor,
So it's the
yeah.
same as contributing. So it's the exact same, they just changed the name.
But it's a criminal
So
offense
it's
now. Yeah.
contributing.
Yeah.
I think they reworded the ages and clarified what a minor was. And I think in the contributing to a minor, I think there may have been some age discriminations where it was maybe under 18 or something like that. So I think they just really shored it up so that it took out some
Under
loopholes.
21.
Yeah, so that it covered, everybody under 21.
All right, if there's anything that y'all think of sometimes when it comes, and you need us to, some help or something or whatever, give us a holler and we'll see what we can do.
We thank you for your
We
time.
appreciate
Thank
it.
y'all for coming
Thank you
and
for
informing.
coming. Yes,
Thank
very
y'all.
much.
All right, Rutherford Rescue Squad. I don't know if they're here or not.
Here.
Didn't see them, so we're moving to the OSHA report. How you doing? I think
Doing fine, thank
got the report in front of us here.
Yes, you do. You notice that in the month of April, there were 15 injuries requiring medical attention. You can see the breakout there. For the year-to-date, for 2010, we've had a total of 79 injuries. The breakout for the OSHA recordables, 50 of those were recordable. 17 of them had restricted days, 15 had lost days, and 18 were other. If you look at the next page, it'll show you the graph, and I did go back and I've added those up. For the first 4 months of 2008, there were a total of 81 claims. In 2009, there were 78 claims, and then of course for the first 4 months of this year it was 79, so we're within 3 of the last 3 years of all those claims, so we're basically running flat as far as the injuries are concerned. Just to let you know that. The graph is a little bit deceiving, but I just want to make sure you understand. Total dollars incurred for this month, or for the month of April, was $17,600. 13 of those were with the Board of Education for $15,500. And then the County General had 2 claims, and the incurred dollars on that was $2,150. That's all I have right now at this time.
Any questions?
I have one. Dan, in the situation that you're saying we're running flat, you've done about everything you could do, haven't you?
Well-
Is this an irreducible minimum is my
No, sir,
basic
we're
question.
continuing. In fact, one of the big challenges we're looking at is coming up this summer. The school system, right now, we're doing well with the school system, but as the school gets out, they go into a cleanup mode at the school and all. We've done some training with the custodians this past spring, so we're looking to see what we can have reflect this time with the school system. Tim Street had a meeting with all the lead custodians of all the school this past spring, looking at procedures and things like that that we can do, that they can kind of get a common thing. Before, one school was doing one thing, another one was doing something else. They weren't following procedures, and people were getting hurt, mostly in slip, trips, and falls from stripping the floors and waxing. So we've really got a lot, hoping to see we can see some changes over the next couple months. Of course, the other answer to this is, even though we were somewhat flat, you must remember we did have 2 new schools coming in. We've got some new schools opening up. So even with that, we're actually experiencing a decrease as far as percentage-wise on the population of the county
Well, that's
employees.
great.
So just be holding our own, we're actually gaining ground on it. So we're going to continue. And education is a big thing, making sure that everybody's aware of what's going on. One of the things that we'd like to do is get somebody to come point back saying, man, all I ever hear about is safety. That's great. I would really strive. I wish that was something that everybody would be complaining about. They hear too much about safety, because I don't think you can ever have too much. So I encourage everybody, anytime you have a meeting or something going on, please, first thing out of your mouth is just remember to tell everybody, let's be safe, go by doing our job on a daily basis that way.
Anybody else? If not, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion and a report and a second. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ambulance service report. Brought your sidekick, please, now, didn't you, Mike? Brought your sidekick, Reed. Mr. Hurd, I understand that you found some good prices on some ambulances.
We did. We were fortunate to.
Buy one, get one free.
Actually, it's almost correct. It was four for the price of two.
Oh,
That is.
really remarkable.
That's good. I thought I would just throw that out there, let the committee know.
The county mayor was able to arrange some financing for that too, so.
That's a good thing. Non-county taxpayer dollars, grant money, wasn't it?
Correct.
Go right here.
We made 1,574 calls, average response time 7.5 minutes, and we had 26 coroner's calls. We billed $944,980, collected $464,780. Actual collections year-to-date, $4,401,537, which puts us on a projection, which is closer we get to June 30th, that more accurate that projection becomes. $5,281,844, and that's up over the past 2 years. Last year we had a little bit of a downturn, if you remember, but that's up. We had insurance write-offs of $360,852. We had credit collection agency write-offs, $81,410, and $1,609 as far as county employees, workers' comp, this sort of thing.
Mike, I mean, our collections policy or whatever really hadn't changed. What's making that go up, the number of runs that y'all are making?
That, and plus we're working very hard at collection. And we're not finished with it. We're getting ready to release an RFP for medical collections. It should have been released today. Hopefully that's going to further increase those collections, as well as kind of update some software that we've got built in. So. The table at the bottom of the page is the operating costs for each ambulance. We drove a total of 30,115 miles. That's pretty consistent for a month. We had 273 out of zone calls.
On the operation shutdowns, with the north end supervisor vacancies, the way I read that is 25 and a quarter, 24-hour shifts. That means that that supervisor was on the truck? Is that what?
The north end supervisor primarily covers our, what we call assistant directors. They have very similar duties, but their titles are different. But essentially, the north end supervisor is doing the same thing in the north end of the county that the assistant director is doing here. They both work 24-hour shifts, and they cover each other. So that it could be that the vacancy was here as an assistant director, and the north end supervisor was pulled down here to run the whole show. And we also have two of our north end supervisors that are on extended vacation. They built up so much vacation time, I had to finally tell them that they had to take vacation. So all that contributes to that.
Thank you.
As far as the station shutdowns are concerned, those are primarily just when we have last minute call-in sick and we're scrambling trying to find somebody to come in and work. We had quite a few in-services and training, various meetings with planning commissions and so forth. As you can see, Terry Cunningham primarily does most of the REACT stuff. And then our sort team was really busy. And primarily they were busy on number 8, their water searches. Not only did they cover our county and with the assistance of the different agencies within our county, but we also covered or responded to a state call out to Cheatham County and Davidson County, and then we went back to Cheatham County to kind of help them line things up there. We will be receiving reimbursement for that. We'll also be receiving some billing for that, just to make you aware of that Murfreesboro has to bill us in order for them to get their money, their FEMA money, and that's kind of the way that works. So we're going to receive a bill from Murfreesboro.
Got it ready today. I need to deliver it.
And we, of course, provided our bills to Cheatham County and Davidson County, and all of that will be refunded. But as you know, it takes a while for all that to take place.
You normally don't, it's always, you like to helping each other out, but FEMA causes, those reimbursements cause you have to bill. I know when we had the tornado, Smyrna had to bill us, so they could get their money, so it's just it's a FEMA thing.
That's exactly right.
Explain one thing to me. It was under the REACT events. You had the mock DUI motor vehicle accident is that a whole high school graduating class that it was for, or did it jam it?
We tried to do that at each high school prior to the senior prom. Because as you know, historically, that's a night when many kids are involved in sometimes tragic events. So we try to do that for each high school prior to that senior prom.
Does it entail, do you have a vehicle that you take around in this?
It's a pretty ugly one, too. It's involved in serious crash. Actually, it's a we do our part, but it's a combination of many different agencies and Marines involved with it. Tennessee Highway Patrol's involved in it, police departments.
Okay, thank you.
We actually go over sometimes, fire department, and then cut the car up, show them and stuff. It's pretty in-depth. It should scare some of the kids to death to see. And maybe we'll keep that.
What could be then?
Yeah.
Next page is the response time broken down by stations. Number of calls, response time, and so forth. We had our critical transport team transported 54 patients, and then they made 53 911 calls. They do that whenever our Salem Road ambulance is busy or our Burton Street ambulance is busy. Support truck handled 100 calls, and that gives us a total of, whatever I told you, the grade again, 1,500, something like that. 1,574 calls. Rolling page is calls broken down by commission districts, as well as the origin of the transport team calls and the calls that we made transporting patients to Nashville.
Bullen's district will,
I was looking for
whenever
it.
the hospital moves, won't be being run, will it?
No, we've kidded Commissioner Bullen about that for years. That is a relatively old section of Murfreesboro. They've got a nursing home and a hospital there, so it may change as of October the 2nd, I believe. Following page is the same information on a year-to-date basis. And we have some various thank you type letters, emails, and so forth.
Anybody have any questions for Mike or Randy?
I asked Randy to come tonight because he was primarily involved in all of the stages of the water stuff. And if you had any questions, he should have some final numbers down there.
All right. On the report, is there any questions on the report right now? And if there's not, we'll entertain a motion for the report.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, and do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
I think one of the reasons that I wanted to come is just to kind of praise the water rescue teams. I was in the middle of all that actually at the EOC when we were starting to move and do other things, and no matter how many times I went on the radio or the television and said don't cross water, because it's deeper than it appears and swifter than it appears. It seemed like we were going to one of those calls every hour at least. And you know, you were involved in several of those, and people just want to cross that water. But our rescue teams did such a great job. We ended up actually seeing probably over 225, 230 people here in Rutherford County, either assisting them to evacuate, rescuing them, taking them out of those swift water crossings. I can't praise them enough for what they did, and I don't have anything to do with water rescue. I understand you just went in a class.
I just attended a class with one of y'all's employees, Wendy Lamp.
Wendy, I have been to that.
She done great.
Yeah, I've been to that, but I didn't like any of it. So, it is a totally different environment when you're in something like that, because you never know how fast it's going. You never know how deep it really is. And our guys did such a great job. Not only did they meet every call in a timely manner, and you'll have to understand that our next month's response time may not look so good, because we had about 45 roads in the county that were closed. And so everywhere we would go, I spent half the night trying to get roads into the hospitals in Nashville, because basically we had patients, pediatric patients, that needed to go. And we couldn't get into Nashville, so we had to go around basically to the north side of Nashville and come in that way. But these guys did such a great job. Not only did we take care of our own, we were able to send a team to help others too. Cheatham County, Davidson County. My son was on one of the teams, and he said in Davidson County they rescued 56, and they still had several dozen waiting for rescue, and that didn't happen here. And you know, it was a timely thing, and those types of calls are time sensitive. The water's rising quickly, and they did such a great job. Not only our teams from the ambulance service, but also the teams from Murfreesboro Fire Department, where we called them in, and other teams that we actually called in from Bedford County and other places to kind of help us out and help us take care of the things when our guys were taking care of runs. So they did such a great job, and I just want to make sure that all the commissioners know that we have a very, very valuable resource in those guys. They're trained, they're safe, and they know what to do. And please don't cross black water. You endanger yourselves and my guys too. So just be very mindful of that. So, but I just wanted you guys to know what a great job that they did, being part of the incident command there with Roger and his guys. I can tell you that I heard every rescue they went on, and they treated it very professionally. They came in, they even interviewed with the news a couple of times, so they did a great job.
I too want to praise them. I was personally involved in a lot of them. I was there. I actually had my boat out on a few of them. They went above and beyond. Y'all wouldn't believe it. I think the one issue, and I hope that we get that fixed, was the communications part of NorthNet. We had issues with it and the communication part of that, but outside of that, we had cell phones and they were getting where we needed them. And as he said, the water went up quick. In a matter of about 30 minutes, Smyrna really changed, and we were literally hollering for help, and Laverne was as well. And if it wasn't for the SORT team in Murfreesboro with their boats and what they had could do, it could have been a whole lot worse. But again, I can't say any negatives outside of hopefully we'll get that radio system up to date and get y'all on a better net, and it'll be safer for your guys being out there. It's a shame it's taken so long, but hopefully we'll get it done.
They did a terrific job.
They're
all heroes.
Also another good example of all the agencies working well together.
Yep.
That's good to know.
Oh yeah, it's you know, you find these things out whenever you have tornadoes and you have all this water flooding and things like that. I mean, I'm talking about the whole county, Smyrna, Murfreesboro, Laverne, Eagleville, the whole 9 yards. I mean, the public safety entities in this county are second to none. You know, law enforcement, EMS, fire, you know, they're second to none, and when it comes time to come together, those individuals and those agencies come together.
And you know, Commissioner, you were saying that the radio system kind of, you know, held us back a little bit, and that's true. But since we all worked together, we all had each other's cell phone numbers, and we all had each other's call signs and everything else. And so it was even though a portion of that broke down, nothing was left out because we all know each other and work that closely together.
That's like the day of the tornado.
Exactly.
He called me and said, Smyrna, I said, what do we need to do? I said, you need to go down to the EOC, it's at the Murfreesboro Police Department, and they'll tell you how much, you know, so, but, anything else?
That's it.
Anybody got any questions from Mike and Randy? All right, thank you. Let's see, Correctional Work Center report. He done outdressed us all now.
Man. He must have hit the lottery.
Sure.
We have a little gospel concert thing at the Work Center there.
Okay.
You singing?
It starts at 6:30, no sir.
You in
Starts at 6:30?
Yeah.
If you'd have let me know that, we could have, we could have took care of that. If you'd been out here.
Okay. Pretty much if you look at the activity report, we can, back on the roads again, the trucks, we got 2 buses, they've been running pretty steady. We picked up Murfreesboro Parks, been doing them two days a week. State highways, we're steady on those. I don't have a state report, I got a county roads report, and that's on page number 3. That's been going pretty good. We got some things to kind of work out with as far as getting the right amount of feedback as far as the bags and getting them weighed. And I just heard about that today, about some issues with that, especially with the state road. So we will get that addressed. So we all will get the credits for doing them the proper way. We are doing them, but I just want to make sure we are getting the credit so we can get paid for doing this at the end of the day. Other than that, pretty much I just want to announce we did hire fill the captain's position. Captain Copies, working in the background back there. He's the new captain of the Correctional Work Center.
Welcome aboard.
And hope there are any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? There's no questions, I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the report.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Let me ask real quick, Lieutenant Slanty, on your GED, what can you do to encourage people to go through your GED program?
I think one of the things that when adult ed is addressing that, the need is actually target the remedial, the ones that have a below 7th, 6th grade, reading level, to get those up to par so they can themselves at some point take the GED test. So that's what we're targeting. The numbers speak for themselves where they are. I think, based on what we're dealing with, that's good. But to get it up and to really make a change is to get those individuals. That's population-wise, percentage-wise, you're probably talking about, 40% of those individuals fall in that category. So we're looking to address those needs, to get those numbers up and to make a difference with these individuals.
Is there an incentive for them to get their GED?
Yeah, we're working on that. That's a good question. Is one of the things, thinking about giving them credits after they take the test and pass it. And that will help them get out a little bit sooner. So yeah, that we are addressing that.
Thanks. Anybody else?
You filled all your vacancies over.
Right, we just made some promotions, and right now, presently I have one officer opening, but other than that and the lieutenant position are the only two openings I have. So that's one of my biggest tasks, and we're definitely on top of that now. So really relieved that we got that addressed.
So we done voted on the report. Haven't, we hadn't. Okay, I couldn't remember. All right, we've got a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion?
Let me ask real quick, your, the work center board, do you know, as far as work release program, I know it may be years off before we look into that, but is your board assertive on trying to look at options and what the county can do years from now?
As far as the work release program, it's something that we just have to assess it. You know, look at the cost of what is really going to cost us budget-wise. What is it really working? Is it is it really something that we can use to make a difference? You know, because I mean, people before you jump into something like work release, you really got to do your research.
Yeah.
You really do.
Anybody else? All right. A motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank y'all. Sheriff Department report. How you doing, man?
Doing just fine, thank you. How are you?
Doing good.
Got a couple of extras here.
Go ahead and
Okay, we have 5 budget amendments, and I would like to say they're all within our budget, just doing transfers. There's no new money. The first transfer is to put $600 into our custodial supplies and detention. The second transfer is to put $500 into our detention printing and forms account. The third transfer is to recognize $24,000 for revenue for our in-service training for our communication division, which would be our dispatchers. The fourth transfer would be for $3,600 to go into our to go into our office supplies account to buy some furniture. And the fifth transfer is for $4,500 to go into our data processing supply account.
You've heard the requests. Is there any questions?
I do need to make a comment.
Is
On
that
the fourth
four?
transfer.
They're backwards? It's
Yes, they're backwards.
Okay.
I just realized that it goes into, to increase office supplies.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a motion to this effect?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Our discussion. Here are seeing none. Call roll.
Commissioner Black?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel?
Yes.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. All right. And I think you got the report there. I guess it's getting down to end of the year, so everything's in line.
So far, keep our fingers crossed, we don't have any disasters, emergencies, so everything should be okay.
All right. Once y'all get through reading it, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Is that it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
How many of the people in the sheriff's department are being paid at a level below the poverty level? I got a letter from somebody the other day about that.
I
They
would
asked
say
me
that
to
there
bring
are-
it up.
There are quite a few, I would say, I really couldn't give you a number, but I would say less than, maybe about 1/5 of the department.
Mhm.
I'm not real sure, so I would say
Okay. I just wanted to see, when I get the information in from somebody, whether it's accurate or isn't.
I got the same letter, and I believe
I was told today that the total package for all the employees, about $320,000 included 1% roughly of all the jobs. Is that correct, Gary, from what you've been able to find?
I don't know about that, but the poverty, the question you asked about the poverty level, there are some county employees, not just at the sheriff's department, but at other departments as well, that are below the poverty level.
Yeah, well, I was primarily concerned because of the focus of the letter with the people who are out there patrolling and really dealing with dangerous situations.
Right.
But we have those in other departments too.
Right. I mean, not just, I'm not saying the sheriff's department had, but there's the sheriff's department and other county departments, there's the same problem throughout.
I do know that we do have some employees that are able to apply for food stamps and stuff like that because their salaries are so low.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just look forward to the day perhaps when we don't have to say that.
Well, we've got every...
But that's not something you can control. We've got to have enough money coming in to be able to do it.
Well, free and reduced lunches at some of the schools in the county are running in a neighborhood of 65%, that type thing. So, you know, and there's got to, and it also is reflected on the amount of dependents that a person has, how many work in the family, for example, and this type thing.
Right.
It all comes in. And right now, there can be a variety of reasons because unemployment's at 10%, so at least some of
Yeah, if you're a single parent with children,
yeah,
it's very hard.
It's hard.
It really is.
Even.
Well, excuse me, I just wanted to raise that and let us
Well, I
present that for the benefit of the public.
I appreciate you asking that question.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Thank you. All right. Emergency management report. Feel like you've got it in front of you here.
Okay. No, you don't rate that.
Thought I was special about that.
Good evening.
How's it going?
Not as hectic as it has been the last few weeks. The report, really, there's not a lot of special things in it, but the most important thing is the flood event for this county, and you may or may not know, but to date, so far, we have 688 properties that were affected by the floods. 14 destroyed, 161 major damage, 175 minor, 228 affected habitable, and 110 of other. And that other is they have to be looked at again because they were not accessible at the time they did the PDA. And they're going back out and trying to determine that, what the amount of damage is with it. At present time, we have about $24 million in residential damages. And that number is still growing as we're trying to fine-tune it and get the accurate
Roger, I know
count.
this is not in my district, it's in, I guess, another commissioner's district, but the deal on Shores Road, how's that going?
They have finished the pumping. I was out there again this morning. I go out there twice a day. Those homes, the only way to get that water out of there was to pump it, and it was successful as far as getting that out. We still have some lakes out in that area, and we're dealing with mosquito problems, but we are doing what we can to take care of that problem. But I can say at this time we don't have any of those homes now underwater or water in them. The pumping has removed all of that from the structures.
You brought up, you triggered my memory. Matter of fact, I had an email here tonight when I went to my mailbox. That was basically the citizens wanting to know about what are we doing about mosquito problems. as far as the county-wide? How's that been handled?
We had turned that in, the request to the state health and to the county health, and they sent out inspection teams to check to see what the mosquito population and all is. One team came back and said it wasn't a major problem, and then the next team came back and said we have a major problem, but it's nuisance mosquitoes, not disease-carrying mosquitoes. I don't know how you find out which one's going to bite you, a disease one or a nuisance.
I don't want either one of them biting me.
We are looking at being able to buy the mosquito cakes that will kill the larvae, and throw them out into the water areas, and one cake will cover about 100 square feet, and hopefully we'll be able to kill the offspring so that the mosquito population will go away shortly. Rutherford County does not have a mosquito spraying policy and a procedure through the health department, and therefore it's a little bit difficult in getting assistance on the vector problem because of that. But we are looking into and trying, we got some mosquito sprays for them, and we're working on trying to get the cakes to put on these water ponds that are out there until they go away. It is a major problem, and it is a huge nuisance. When I go out and walk the road with the citizens out there, I get eaten up too. And I gave them all the bug spray we had. But we were impacted a lot more than we thought we were going to be, and a lot of our flooding is not necessarily related to the rivers and the creeks. It's some drainage problems and sinkhole problems and things of that type, but also with the river. I hope, or I will have by our next month, have a total tally for everybody. We came up with a database that we created to identify all these locations, and we record down the addresses, do they own or rent, the municipality they're located in, the damage category, and that's according to the TEMA and FEMA categories of destroyed, major, minor, affected, and insurance, do they have it or not, and PDA and DA is our preliminary damage assessment and disaster assessment, where people call in and we try to capture their name and their phone number and how many's in the family and what their needs are, so we can better serve them. And we've had some pretty good turnouts on the call-in side. Not everyone like I would like, but it's we've gotten over half.
Any questions on Roger's report here?
Roger, how many homes you say were damaged?
688 homes were totally affected with this flood. There are still some that we're not sure of, and when the people call in, that helps us and the different municipalities. They didn't realize some area was flooded, and that helps us make sure that nobody's missed. My initial assessment, I felt that we was going to have about 700 homes, and we're getting pretty close to it. We're still finding some that no one had been out to, or at least we didn't have documentation on it, and we're making sure that someone gets out there and talks to them and looks at what their damages were.
Well, I know I was pretty pleased with the responses, I guess especially from the federal government. I made all my phone calls, but I went online the Saturday, well, it would have been the 8th, and applied to FEMA in my house. On Tuesday, I got a call from one of their contract inspectors. On Wednesday, she was out there. And Friday, there was a check that was put in my bank account, and I could not believe it. I wasn't expecting really anything. A dime would have been more than what I really thought. Right. But it was enough that it's going to pay for 35 to 40% of the damage that I had done, which is it helps immeasurably because it means I don't have to take out a loan or something like that. Sure. That I'll be able to benefit, and it makes a big difference, you know. So
you're exactly right, and this is the first time in the 20-plus years I've been here that we qualify for IA assistance, which is individual assistance, which money goes straight to the victims of the disaster, and it's based on uninsured damages. And in this particular storm, most of our problems were uninsured because people were not in floodplains. They didn't have flood insurance, and their normal homeowners will not cover it. So it just made just about everybody uninsured.
These 688 structures that were involved, have all those people been contacted? Do they know how to get this assistance?
Yes, sir. To the best of my knowledge, and there's been a lot of advertising on it, and we have a DRC, which is the Disaster Response Center or Recovery Center, set up in Smyrna at the old police station, and we've gone through and we call and contact the people and make sure what their needs are and all that. So I cannot say that there's not somebody that doesn't know, but I doubt it. They should all know.
The newspaper and
yes, sir. It's been
TV
plastered.
Channel 19 and things like that. The media has kind of.
Yes, sir. And for those that may not know that are watching this right now, the DRC in Smyrna is at 120 Ian Springs Road, the old police station, and it's open 7 to 7, 7 days a week. And you can go in and talk to the people about your IA, about SBAs, any kind of the assistant programs that FEMA offers. It's really worth everyone's time to go in and sit down and talk to those people about what is available for them.
Is there any more questions on Roger's report here?
I'd just like to check one thing.
Yes, sir.
I wrote it down as 648. Commissioner P mentioned 688. 88. Okay. Thank you. I had some doubt about my writing.
And if any of you need to come and we'll look at within your districts, I have these broke out by municipality and by address sequence, so I can go through them real quickly, easily, and be able to show you within your jurisdictions if you have any concerns that you haven't already addressed with them.
Anybody else?
Roger, have you heard how many cars were damaged? Someone told me they had heard that 30,000 cars in Tennessee were, or Middle Tennessee was.
That's the
flooded.
number I heard. A lot.
Wow.
A lot of vehicles. Because of flood, it just came up very quickly. In Shores Road, where we've been pumping, they heard the noise, they went out and looked. They didn't have time to go in and get fully dressed and shoes and everything. Water was up there, just like that when it hit. So, and you look out there and there's a lake and there's cars on the other side that you could just see the top of the van. And totally underwater.
You know,
it's just unreal.
I know we had a lot more rain we've ever had at one time. But how could that happen? I mean, for that to be that quick.
Well, I'm not.
Within 24 hours.
Yeah, I'm not an engineer on it, but the ground, it was just saturated and couldn't go anywhere. And then
I'm talking about Shores Road area.
Well, I can't say on Shores Road because I'm sure engineers are looking at that or will be looking at that.
Everything
I don't
flows
know.
downhill from 840.
Well,
and there's houses at the bottom, and the road's near the bottom. And that section, that's basically what it is. I mean, and you don't, yeah.
I think Dale Corbin, I don't want to speak for him, but the county engineer, we was in a class, and he said a lot of the problem was sinkholes and underwater cisterns that just filled up, and
we started overflowing.
That's where it ended up at.
Couldn't go anywhere.
The only way to move that water was to pump it, and we did. It's out from under the homes, but there's still a lake out there, and there's 2 of the homes you can't get to without using a boat. Still, because you have to get from Shores Road over to the house, and they have a long driveway, and it's underwater. But every day it was going down. I do not know how deep it is in the middle now. But
The good thing about most of the cars, though, everybody who had insurance, though, they cover that, where, like, we wouldn't have flood insurance, but the cars will cover it if they had insurance. So, most people got paid on their cars.
Is anybody looking at possibility of grants for flooding? I know I've brought this up several times because we got areas in Fourth District that perpetually flood, perpetually have mosquito problems. You know, we've been working on some of them, but, you know, it's just so long and the money's not there. But anything that y'all run across on grant money for, you know, mitigating flood areas, I'd be highly interested in seeing that.
yes, sir. Our whole vision of looking at the areas that flooded and what kind of flood damage they had this time, we'll be looking at what is out there, what the problem was, and what can be done to minimize that in the future. There's a lot of possibilities out there, but it'll take engineers and all who know that stuff and that will make those decisions. But we definitely will be looking at it and asking those exact questions, what can be done.
Can you email, I know you offered the information to us on the affected properties, can you email that to us? I know you got most of our addresses.
I believe I can email this. It's kind of big. But I turned it off. But I believe I can.
Roger, what about planning as far as information, getting it to planning, to Doug DeMoss's office, as far as future development or anything? How are y'all communicating with them?
Well, on the thing, as we're looking at where all this flooding is, we're also looking at historical flooding, where, you know, if it's an area like if you have a flood zone, then you expect it to flood. Maybe this flooded more than normal, but you expect to have some problems there. But when you have areas that are not in a floodplain and never have flooded before, but they've flooded now, then those are areas we need to look at why and what can be done, and if there needs to be a change in how things are approved.
Every bit of this information has gone through OIC, and they put it on maps, so it's all documented.
It's captured, and then it's up to us to make the best out of
And I think
that information.
Dale Corbett and Eric Hill are involved.
Oh, yes.
Our engineers do the drainage stuff.
Yeah.
The Shores Road situation, the water that was under those houses, and some of it was up into the houses.
Yes.
Okay, so it was a long time. They've had 2 weeks plus that they had water under it. What does that mold-wise, does that mean that they probably have mold under there when it finally got out because it's not dry and everything, might it not be?
Most of those houses in Shores Road that had water in them have, for the most part, been gutted now. And by gutting, that's not just taking drywall off and insulation, but in some cases taking the floorboards up and spraying and airing out floor joists. Because it will warp or smell or whatever. They have to dry that before they can cover it again. So it's not a simple thing, just water, get out and you're back. There's a lot of work. Oh, yes. And when you get water up like that, you got to replace the HVAC, you got to replace all the ductwork. If your water got that high, you got to replace outlets and switches. It depends on how deep it is. Out of those 14 destroyed, we had some that had almost 8 feet of water in them. I mean, that first level is totally got to be rebuilt.
I know when I was on planning, and we had looked at where basically our planning has gone through several evolutions and still is. But when I first got on planning, and, prior to you going on there, Gary, we used to have islands. Basically, the house itself had to be over the 100-year floodplain. Well, then we changed it where we had little peninsulas because then we added the driveways. We changed it again so that not only the house but the garage, which was not part of it, and the pad that the air conditioners sit on all have to be above the 500-year flood. Now, this particular instance we had, I've heard a radio announcer say something about a 1,000-year flood. I don't know what you would call 18 inches in 24 hours, but, you know, that's well above the typical 500-year flood in this area. I mean, and it's an unusual occurrence where the storm just sat here and didn't go. I mean, didn't move on through. You know, had it moved on through at 30 miles an hour, we might have get, you know, 3 to 5 inches or something.
Right.
For come in and just stall out and sit on us is what happened. So, you know, when you get into problems like that with engineering, you know, you don't usually calculate to get that much water dumped on you because it's highly unusual unless you're, you know, you've got a hurricane coming in or, you know, something like that.
Very true.
And that's not something we normally see in this area.
Right.
I think the engineers calculate was up to a 100-year floodplain, don't they?
They do, 100-year floodplain, and I think in the county it's 3 feet above that 100-year plain is what they're building to now.
Like I said, we went to the 500-year, if I'm not mistaken. It may have changed since I've been on, but I know that I pushed to get it up to 500-year, at least on some of the subdivisions we were looking at then, because I was afraid, you know, we'd have problems like that.
Well, this county is, and I think Davidson is also another of those two where I read that it joined that nationwide consortium in which you can adhere to certain standards and you can get flood insurance without being in the 100-year floodplain.
Well, you can get flood insurance now without being in a floodplain. That's been a misconception or myth that a lot of people have. Anyone can buy flood insurance if you live on top of a mountain. It's a federal funded insurance system and anyone can buy it. But a lot of insurance companies don't want to sell it to you if you don't need it. And that's where some of that comes to play. But everyone should have it on the fact that you never know when you're going to have a water issue. And if you don't require it because you're in a floodplain, it's a lot less. And I think those people that have gone to the DRC for the most part have been very pleased with the help they've gotten there. I've talked to a few of the people when I've been up there. I try to go up there a couple times a week just to see how it's going and how everyone's being dealt with. And town of Smyrna was gracious to give FEMA that location so that it's kind of centered of where a lot of this was happening. The worst of it in the beginning was Laverne and Smyrna, and then ended up countywide, ended up with more homes that were affected by it. But when you look at the major and minimum damage, there's not a whole lot of difference in depth of water. But we had, when you look at those two, that was the bulk of our problems within the major and minor damage area, which means they got significant water in the home. The affected is basically in the crawl space, but it messed up the floor systems because of the joists.
All right. If there's no other questions on Ryder's report there, we're going to move over to on the fire report.
Of course, you got the water report there with the training hours on it. And the monthly report from the volunteer fire departments on their training hours and total water usage that they have. But on my report, really the only thing I really want to bring out is that I've been spending a lot of time working with Ms. Phelan on these grants, this communication tower, and on the rescue vehicle we're applying for, just trying to give her all the information because she's really been a champ, but a lot of this stuff she's not used to, and terminology and stuff. So I've been gathering that information on for the response of the county and the training levels and all that stuff for her so she can better apply for these grants.
So that's all the communication stuff and then the rescue vehicle, that's all I've been applied for?
Well, and we're able to apply for the AFG grant too because now we have a county fire department. So that just gives us another avenue for grants that we can apply for.
Motion to approve the report.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I got a quick question on your last comment on that. How'd that go with your meeting in Emerald?
Very well. But they just had a few concerns, And we just talked with them and hopefully had some resolve in what their issues and their fears were. So I think they're on board.
Any other questions? All right, anything else?
One other thing is, I will mirror some of what Randy White said. We all should be very proud of our public safety entities in this county, to include the cities, in the response that they did on this flood. And our SORT team did a fabulous job going to multiple counties, and second to none, which says a lot for this county.
And Murfreesboro Fire Department was quick to respond too, to back us
Yes, they
up
were.
when we need them.
I think he even had some water teams out.
Yeah.
25?
We had,
25?
we called in extra people and that Saturday and to help out in the county. We didn't have anything going on in the city on that Saturday. We had problems on that Sunday.
Right.
Out in Berkshire, so.
Yeah, I had extra people calling in, won't know what Murfreesboro Fire Department was doing out in their neighborhood.
Helping.
We're helping.
Helping.
Mutual aid.
We're not afraid to holler for it, we're not afraid to give it.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, pause. How you doing tonight?
Fine, how are you, sir?
Doing good, doing good.
Looking at that amount.
Is this the right budget amendment?
Yes, that's just the signed one.
Well, they're passing it out. Are you giving?
Oh, I didn't
them
know they
also?
had I didn't know that you had copies. Did you get a copy of it?
Maybe his though. Did you get one?
Not that kind.
You got one? I got one.
Okay. Thanks.
You just see right there, there's a reset.
Did you get a copy of the report, Becky?
I got it.
All right, this is our April report. Nothing out of the ordinary in the April report. 645 total intakes. Breakdown of where those animals originated from. 180 adoptions. 323 euthanized. 53 reclaimed by owner. Adoption reclaim rate for the month of April was 38%, with euthanasia rate at 53%. 198 animals shelter at the end of the month. 2,100 people visited shelter in April looking for a lost pet or to adopt a pet. On our calls received, 1,301. Total calls completed for the month of April was 1,324. That's due to carryover. Breakdown of where those calls originated, and the mileage. At the bottom of that page are the totals for the rabies clinic, which was held in April, the first week. Total number of dogs vaccinated was 5,610. Total number of cats vaccinated, 1,299, for a total of 6,909 pets vaccinated during rabies clinic.
Yeah, they cut
The next page is the fiscal year to date. So far since July 1st, we have 6,982 impounds. That's a breakdown of where those animals are coming in from. Bless you. We've had 1,724 adoptions, 4,351 pets euthanized. That reclaim number is incorrect. I apologize for that. I've got an extra digit in there. Somewhere in the 400 to 500 range on those reclaimed for the year. And adoption reclaim rate of 32%, euthanasia rate of 62%.
How long are the animals at the shelter before they're euthanized?
Don't really have a set time. There's a set period they have to be held, their stray period, before they can be placed up for adoption. Right now, that's 3 days without any ID, 5 days if they do have ID. not sure yet. I know they were looking at changing that law, which it would cause all animals have to be held to come in 5 days, regardless of whether they have ID or not. That's going to have some impact on our euthanasia rates as well. Currently, as long as we're creating space, then we try to give the animal a chance of being adopted. So,
Where's that law? Is it getting any legs up there, or is it stalling out, I hope?
I'm hoping it's stalling out too. I know it's probably not a good thing to say, but
Well, I wish we
it's
could
going to have a
keep them all,
huge
but-
impact. Yeah, exactly. Places that are smaller than us are really going to have a difficult time trying to handle that influx. The next page, calls received since July 1st, 13,783. Calls completed, 13,850 due to carryover. And we have the mileage for the fiscal year. On the April bites, April was a busy month with bites. We had 43 reported, 9 of those animals tested, none of which were positive. We only had 3 of the other rabies exposure reported in April. 3 tested, none of those we tested were positive. Brings our total bites since January to 113, 32 tested, 2 positives. Those were the unsatisfactory that we brought up in March on the March report. On the other rabies exposure, 23 reported, 21 tested, and 2 positive. That one at the bottom, the positive rabies detail with the horse, that was not one that went through our department. That was one that an owner had out in the Northvale area, and the horse started getting sick. They had a veterinarian come out treating the animal. The animal was euthanized. The owners transported it to the cord lab in Nashville, where it was tested and came back positive, and the health department passed that information on to us. And then that last page is just those positive cases in Rutherford County that have been brought to our attention or have come through our department, and 3 of those 5 listed were unsatisfactory, which are considered a positive since.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion.
What's your per animal cost today?
I don't have that number off the top of my head for you tonight, I'm sorry.
Ballparked it.
I would not be comfortable giving you a ballpark on it tonight. I'm sorry, I'll have that for you next time, or I can call you with it tomorrow.
The reason I asked, the bill we discussed earlier, there's a representative out of Nashville, and her name is escaping me right now, but she's decided that the 5-day rule is not acceptable for her. She wants it at 7, and it's an unfunded mandate she's going to hand down to us counties, that we're going to have to house them longer because she feels it's, you know, if she wants to fund it, I'll agree with it, but this is just another unfunded mandate our state's trying to hand down to us.
I can call you with that information.
Didn't we pass a resolution against unfunded mandates?
She ripped that up. She's going to shred her.
Well, how about our reps though? Aren't they confronting her
I hope they are.
with a steely gaze?
Maybe we ought to send some FOS trucks up there and they accidentally come unlocked in her district.
That'd be nice. I mean, we're making light of it, but this is just one more case.
No, it is, really.
Year to year, we're getting these unfunded mandates, and we're having to adjust tax rates, and we're looking at not giving cost of living and step raises and everything else to meet our budgets, and they come up with silly things like this to spend their time on.
Who's the representative?
She represents a period of Metro Nashville. She's a bit.
Taney.
It's a
Probably
female.
is. She's the.
Yeah.
You were talking about cost. It seems like a number sticks in my head just to euthanize an animal. I think it was $45 a few years ago. Isn't that pretty standard or?
Pretty standard.
Then we've got the cost of disposing of them also. So it's costly.
All right, if there's no other questions, we got a motion, a second on the floor, and all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries. We got a budget amendment.
Yes, sir.
It's a nice budget.
Move $2,500 from our donation line into our veterinary services line. That is through the remainder of this fiscal.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing or seeing none, call roll.
Commissioner Black?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel?
Yes.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Key?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. Anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, drug court report.
I'm gonna send her a letter.
I really don't have anything. Just my monthly little thing here.
We had a graduation last week.
Yes, and I appreciate so much those of you that were able to come in and stay, and you actually heard some testimonies this time. Were you there?
No.
No. Mr. Daniel was. So you were there, Mr. Schaefer? When you were there? Yeah. I was so glad that y'all got to hear Kelsey. I believe she was the first one you heard, the kind of large woman with the big hair. That was my favorite talk. I really enjoyed that.
The guy that was engaged.
The guy that was engaged.
Yeah. Got up and talked, and he has 2 sons were there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You probably had, what, 200 people, maybe more?
Well, of course, we had the participants upstairs, so, but, yeah, it was a very good turnout. And we had 2 rows of board members. That's the most board members we've ever had at one. I mean, it was just great.
Yeah, I was surprised at the turnout, but people don't realize how many lives are affected by that.
Exactly.
You know, what good you're doing there, but that'd be good for, you know, anybody to go watch that, see how your tax dollars are being spent. I think you'd be well pleased with what you see.
We actually had permission from all the graduates to tape it this year and put it on Channel 19.
Oh, good.
Well, they were doing budget, and they said they couldn't do them both.
Well, maybe they can delay it and do it next month or sometime.
Well, it'll be a little while before we didn't tape, I mean, they didn't tape it.
Oh, they didn't tape it?
No,
Because they
were
only had
taping
one
y'all.
setup.
Oh, okay.
So we'll try again next time.
I know CADCOR was here a while ago. Y'all work pretty much hand in hand on a lot of things.
Well, I'm a member of
You're
their
a member of the board?
coalition.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've worked on a lot of things that they've done. So not everything.
Right.
Like I don't go to beer board meetings or anything like that. I have enough of my own evening meetings to go to.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling.
So, but they're a wonderful organization. They really are. And hopefully they're making a difference.
Right. Any questions on her report here?
Motion approved.
Got a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Discussion, questions?
Mary, real quick, what Robert was talking about taping, that graduation. Just, I guess, at your next CADCOR meeting, because you say you meet with them, right? And maybe if that was taped and there's a way that could be played back in the schools.
The CADCOR meetings?
No, this graduation ceremony, because you hear some testimonials, maybe these kids hear some of that, it may plant some positive seeds or something, you know.
Well, we'll try again. Of course, our next graduation is going to actually be at the conference in December. We're really making a big deal out of the next one. Because every year at our statewide conference, we always go out and see a court. Like when it's in Nashville, we'll go visit the drug court in Nashville. But I don't think anybody's ever had a graduation. So it's our 10th anniversary. We want to make a big deal out of it. So we're actually going to have the graduation at the conference this year. So there'll be like 300 people there, you know. So that'll be really exciting. So I'm hoping that we can work out a deal with the hotel to take that one maybe.
Thanks. All right, we got a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Real tax officer report. How you doing?
Fine, y'all.
Good.
I have no questions, but I've got something I want to bring up. You know, Mr. Schaefer's in. I'll ask you any questions. Iowa. Went down to Friday to Sand Hill and Wicker Lane. I was there, told them, I'll keep up with 55 minutes. And there's 9 come through there that didn't belong in this county or wasn't registered in this county. And 7 of those 9 I turned down and sent out. And I guess I'm the bad one, but I don't care. We don't need other people's garbage. We got enough of our own. And I give them your name and mine if they want to complain. So, and I left there and went over to Weekly. A few minutes after that, because 2 of the same ones come back over there. I wrote those 2.
They learn, do they?
I had one gentleman said he lived here 30 years and he never bought a wheel tax sticker. He lived in Laverne, never bought it. And I said, well, surprise, surprise, you're going to buy it for 3 years right now. So that's one of them I wrote, you know. But what gets me on this, I mean, if they don't, we're not accepting it in there, they're going to dump it somewhere. And of course, I know our storm here has brought we've had a lot of debris, people want that thing, you know. And Rutherford County does an outstanding job of taking a lot of stuff, and we get a lot of stuff that we shouldn't get, you know, from other places, you know. But somewhere we got to draw the line, and I just drew the line Friday, and I turned those down, you know. Like I said, I went over it Weekly. And so if you hear some complaints, it's me the one turning them away. It's, you know, it's not the people there that, you know, I'm the bad boy, you know.
Well, let me ask you something, Bart.
Yes,
since you made the comment that they're gonna dump it somewhere, since they're in our county, more than likely it's gonna be in our county, then we're gonna have to pay to go pick it up.
Yes, sir.
What would be the possibility of us saying, okay, you are out of county, you wanna come dump here, this is what it's gonna cost you?
Well,
has that ever crossed your mind, or had?
I talked to Superintendent Workhouse a while ago, and I want to go out there and meet with him, and I want to meet with Mac Nolan, you know, on this. Our litter grant is based on tonnage. You know, the more tonnage that we pick up, the more we get on litter grant, the more we don't have, you all don't have to match. You know, and I thought I need to sit down and talk to Mac Nolan about that, and I want to talk to. Since we lost the employee, Adele, through the litter grant, I don't feel that I'm getting enough picked up. You know, we need to pick up somewhere every day. Love County big enough, we need to pick up somewhere every day. I know Smyrna and Laverne had a whole lot more damage, and Nashville comes our way, but it's got to go somewhere. Somebody's got to accept it, and I very much agree with you. If you want to dump, you pay a fee. You know. I mean,
well, I'm not saying that I haven't had time to think it all the way through.
I hadn't either, but I'm like you. It's because I'm sure 3 of those characters that I turned away was going to put it somewhere on the roads. You know, but I tried to set the example down there that I wasn't going to take it.
Well, the convenience officers that
well,
are there, if you weren't there, would they end up dumping it?
I talked to him about that, you know, and he said, I said, I don't want y'all to get in an argument match, you know. I said, I've asked you to just write that tag number down, let me search it, I'll send a letter and go from there. But if they don't get into take it.
Well, they need to go ahead and take it and let you be the enforcement officer.
That's what I'm asking them to do. I said, but, you know, tell them, say, sir, you're from Davidson County. We don't get anything to you, and I wish you'd carry yours back to Davidson County. And 3 of those left. They understood that, you know. But, you know, you've got to draw the line, I feel, somewhere, you know. And I know Doug has had some problems down there, and he's right down the line, and he gets a lot of it, you know. And,
well, these construction type things?
No, sir. They
individuals?
They was all individuals.
Okay.
One out of that was construction, but you know, you can't tell a person, well, you're lying to me, you know. He had commercial tags, and that's the reason I turned him down, because he had commercial tags. And I said, if you got a commercial business, and he did, I went back and followed up. He had a business down there. He was bringing his stuff out of his commercial business to us, you know. He needs to buy his own container and furnish, you know. But like I said, if you get some calls, I'm the bad one, because it's not them. So just want you to be aware of that.
Art, with like the town of Smyrna, their public service workers, so the court imposed. Does Smyrna apply for the same grant money, highway grant money, because they're putting them on the highways, or are we keeping a tally with that weight and tonnage as well, or?
County roads, we're keeping it. Now, I don't think Smyrna has a little grant. I mean, everything is paid, Rutherford County is paid through this office downstairs, you know. We pay per tonnage, and that's what I was talking to him today. Since Gene has left, and you know, I'm trying to keep those 2 trailers. We got really 2 part-time people now. We used to have a full-time and a part-time. I'm trying to keep them trailers on the road somewhere every day picking up. But if I'm turning in this tonnage, and when it crosses scales as tons, we go back and turn that into state, and when it comes here in June, July, state said, well, you had this much tonnage, we're gonna give you this much. And of course, the states cut us back, you know, like everything else, you know. But you're buying vans, you're buying tires, your trailers, you know, and superintendent's been very good. Let us have people to pick it up, you know. And like he was talking tonight, baggage, state pays by bags, you know. We pay, Little pays the tons, you know, so we pick up 25 tons, we get paid 25 tons. And the more we pick up, and I'm saying, what I'm saying, it's out there. We can pick it up every day, somewhere, you know.
If you just had the manpower to.
The manpower to do it, you know, and I understand where Mac's coming from. We cut this person back, and he's filling in and stuff. I just think we need something that, if we've got them vans, they need to be running. Because we got the free prisoner to help to use it. And that's what I'm
Is one of the part-timers doing it in the morning other than the afternoon?
No, part-time works 3 days a week, and then Mac fills in with his man what he can, you know. But, you know, 3 days a week, we try to lay out to the biggest road or something. We've got a problem, we put them together to do that, and this other just floats where we need it, you know. If your district's got a bad place, you know. And just like tomorrow, I've got a house got to clean up, a court order. Well, you know, I've got to get it off that property, but it takes time, you know.
Right.
What I say, you know. Garbage is, you know, garbage going somewhere where we want it or not, you know. I just kind of like get our share of it.
All smells, right?
Yes, sir. Exactly.
On the school list here, is that,
Yeah, all these on the current is me, you know. I hadn't got anything this month at all from our schools, you know, 'cause school's out.
School's picked me out.
Out here, you know, and like I said, we're changing the form a little bit this time to hopefully increase it, you know. Angel has been very good with the school board, and I hope we're on the right track.
I think changing the form this coming school year will even help even more on that.
Everybody with the form, everybody's got the same form, same tag. Look, but that's it. It makes it quicker for us, right there, you know.
So we got 13,000 from Nissan this time.
Yes, sir. Everything helps.
It does.
Yes, sir. I like to see them increase instead of decreasing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead and mention that page.
The, like I said, title, registration, and wheel taxes, all the increase. Nissan reimbursement for the month of March was $13,200. You know, that's 264 vehicles at $50. You know, and like I said, that's the way Nissan's going and big. I think we'll continue to get more. It'll get better. You know.
Well, I think that's what I wanted to ask about. To me, that would, because well, I don't know if I ought to really say it out too loud, but it seems to me they're being a good community partner by still doing that.
I think after we've got this worked out, you know, and you know, we sat down and had to talk, and the right people got behind it. They're doing what we asked them to do.
Right.
Yes,
I think they ought to be
applauded
for that.
I do too, you know. And it was new for them, and I'm not, I know their headquarters is Williamson County, and Williamson County should get theirs, you know. You know, if you live in Cannon County, you should give it to Cannon County. But these people are living here, and it's the ones we're getting. That's what we're asking. You know, I really do.
Because they're sending their kids to our schools.
That's right. They're getting a great benefit out of this $50.
Right. All right.
You know, I think we got one of the finest. I've talked to other counties about this dumping and stuff. We got 14, 15 dump sites here. Can dump anything you want, just about. And if you got a household stuff that you need to go to Rubb County landfill, they still accept that, you know. So it's a great opportunity, but you just got to get it there. And we're offering a fine service, I think.
Any questions for Bart on his report?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Bart.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Juvenile detention report and also budget amendment.
I think you should have some copies coming down.
Pass these out?
Yes, please.
Is this what's called the best for last?
Yes, please say we call it that.
How are you doing in there?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good.
Yes, and it's coming your way. Okay, gentlemen, you have in front of you our monthly report for April. I just wanted to point out there's not anything special happening. I just wanted to let you have a chance to look at things a little differently than perhaps you may have in the past. If you would take a look at the daily average for July, which was 29, and you would look at the daily average for April, was 22. If you would look at the number of Rutherford County kids that were booked in, was 74 in July and 81 in April. So we're still receiving the same amount of intakes that we always have. The reason that the daily averages fluctuate so is because of the length of time that the judge chooses to detain the children. So detention is still working at a high rate of capacity. The kids just aren't being detained as long, and so that reduces our daily average.
Why are they not being retained as long?
That would have to be a
A
question.
judge question.
Yes, sir. So I just kind of wanted to, if there's another example would be September. 84 kids were booked in September. 84 kids were booked in December. However, the averages are very different. The daily average in September is 31. The daily average in December is 19. So my employees are still doing the same amount of work each day that the kids come and go, but daily average does fluctuate. So I don't want everybody to get too, tunnel visioned on my daily average, because we're still doing the same amount of work.
All right, how much, or how many, or what's the capacity that you're able to handle?
We have 48 cells, like you would think a
Right.
correctional facility would have, and then we have an additional 16 beds that are in a dorm setup. It's hard for us to use those 16 beds because it's hard to find 8 people that can coexist with each other that aren't co-defendants, gang members, or one's too little, too big, sex offender. I can go on. So we actually are using those dorms for more of our programming needs than anything. It's rare that we have kids that are actually assigned to that area as far as where they sleep. So 48 is the beds that we have in regular use.
So normally we're basically at half capacity on a daily average, roughly.
Oh, yes. I just, there's been a lot of talk about our daily average, and these are the same numbers that y'all have seen all year long. I just kind of wanted to point that out to you, that, the booking and the releasing, and that's still the same amount of work. It's just the amount of time that the kids are being detained has gone down.
You're talking about talk of the daily average, what are you talking about?
I'm sorry?
The talk of the daily average.
The last couple of meetings, we've talked about whether it was public safety or budget and finance. In general, the committees that I've gone in front of have talked a lot about my facility's daily average, and that was just something I wanted to make.
Okay.
But beyond that, if you have any questions, it looks like to me that we'll most definitely surpassed $300,000 monies that we brought in for the year, probably a little bit more. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Refresh my memory, you talking about taking in over $300,000. What is y'all's annual budget?
This year, 1.7.
So roughly a sixth of it, yeah, of your budget you're bringing in on revenue, okay.
And this actually doesn't include, we participate in the school nutrition program, which basically the money that, for our foods, we make a little bit of money on what we serve the kids. So there's some money besides this here.
I'm getting old, so refresh my memory, please.
I'll try, because
Okay,
I'm getting old too.
the increase, did it go into effect last July 1st, or was it July 1st
For what we
before?
charge other counties?
Yes.
It was 2008 fiscal year, so.
Oh, so it was 2007 it went into effect.
No, we started we moved in 2008, and we started charging the new rate at the new facility.
Okay, so that would have been July 1st, 2008.
And speaking of that, how does that compare to other counties that are on the state level as far as their charge?
Other juvenile detention centers, the last time that I polled the other detention centers in the state, the $175 per day that we charge is going to be the highest. But we also have the newest and best juvenile detention center in the state of Tennessee. If you've got, Memphis is an older facility, and they're in the 150s, 160s, or they were a couple years ago when I polled around. So it's still, for the quality of staff that we have and in the facility that we're running, it's still a good deal.
And so, I guess the people that are watching this tonight, we're not just taking them in just to be taking those inmates in. It's actually offsetting a lot of the cost. It is to have your budget and all this other stuff.
Right, and keep in mind, if the facility is open and running, I have to have the same amount of staff if I have 20 kids or if I have 30 kids. If I have empty beds that I can sell to another county or the U.S. Marshals or INS, my staff is already there, the electric has to be paid, so we're just making money on those empty beds that we have.
Right.
How many employees do you get?
34, I believe.
How many of them full-time?
All but one. And I tried real hard to make a case to get that young lady up to 40 hours. She's at 30 currently, but I was unsuccessful.
Any more questions on her report?
But you planted a seed.
If there's no other questions, entertain a motion on the report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. You got a budget amendment?
I do. It's for a very small amount. This is $63 that we're moving around. One is to offset some overtime, and which was $50, and $13 into office supply line. It's within my budget, and it's just bookkeeping, basically.
You've heard
To
the
approve. Second.
motion and a second. Discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Black?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel?
Yes.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. Anything else?
No?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We got an amendment to the contract for the payment for mental health evaluation and treatment services for criminal defendants charged with misdemeanors only.
The mayor said the contract is in place. This is simply an amendment that extends the term for 1 more year.
Okay.
Is this for the juveniles? Or is
I
this
think it's for any.
I thought, but we pay the juvenile portion, right? And the state pays the
That's what I
adults,
know.
I believe, is what happens. Okay.
I know this is the state handed, this is another unfunded mandate.
Took the words out of my mouth.
That the state has handed down to us where we have to pay for the mental evaluations for people that are incarcerated on misdemeanors. And I think from past, remember from Mayor Burgess, that it wasn't as high as we thought it was going to be per se, but it's enough money that we gotta.
It's not chump change.
It's not chump change, exactly. So I guess what we need to do is we need to approve the amendment to the contract here with the state of Tennessee for this unfunded mandate.
Make a motion to extend the contract for the term of 1 year.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Does this go to budget?
Yeah, I'd say it probably does. All right, got a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Next is, on the agenda, is to discuss the changing of the next meeting date. We were scheduled for June the 28th for our Public Safety Committee, which on that date, we will be having our budget hearing that morning. So I'm recommending that we change it to June the 21st. That's the Monday prior. If there's no problem or...
I have a problem. My wife is having surgery that day.
Okay.
That's just us, so go ahead if you need.
Well, do we have any more open dates in there? We're pretty well booked right during that time period.
Yeah, that was the only thing. Have you got anything on?
Well, the 23rd, but see, I don't have Vicky's calendar. I don't know
Yeah.
if someone else has the room.
The 23rd of June, there's a budget meeting scheduled then.
That was
You just can't find a place.
right. That was the problem with rescheduling the date was because of the other committees and stuff, budgets.
Because the commission is the 17th, you've got the 18th, which is a Friday, and then you've got the 21st, which is a Monday.
Yeah. I hate to leave you out there, Commissioner Daniels, but that was about the only date that we had, unless somebody can come up with another date here that I didn't know about.
Well, I just want you to know I'm not running out on you.
Oh, I understand. We know that. If there's no other objection, we'll go ahead on the 21st at 5:30.
Need a motion for that?
If it's okay with you as chairman, I'll set that date and then get the agenda through Vicky, if that's okay with y'all.
All right.
All right. Is there any other business come before the committee tonight? Hearing or seeing none, we stand adjourned. Thank y'all.